With the neuroptics needing 6 neural sensors and 2 organ crystals, but the chassis needing 2 niatan extract, the 3 tellurium is easy enough to get a hold of. It's not that expensive. The rest of the resources are pretty easy enough to get a hold of. And it is one nice looking frame. Nezha Prime had a lot of hype. Whether you wanted him, don't want him, there was still a lot of hype behind him, and looks wise was not a disappointment at all. Spec wise, 250 armor instead of 190, the energy's still the same, health's still the same, shields are still the same, but does have yet again another prime that has been given an increase to sprint speed one day. I mean, same as the standard one. Reason to go for a prime over the standard one tends to be the extra polarities they come with. We have a dash, a D and a V. None in the Heelys slot though. And probably best of all, in the dash polarity for the aura can go corrosive projection. I've mentioned this a few times, but the universal aura slot there for a prime would be really, really good. Did kind of expect, especially since during the slide animation, the 1 foot is on the floor, so you are technically sliding on the wheel. Can't believe you're actually going to go the distance here. Oh wait, you're a little bit airborne. That's actually good, because the second wheel, which is kind of hard to get an angle on because of everything going on, isn't. And the main reason it's hard to get an angle on is because of the chakram on the back, but you can kind of see it there. The second wheel is not touching the floor, and you can only kind of see it because of the flame effect that these things have, which, considering it's not a deluxe skin, is actually really good. Does start to make sense when you remember Nezha's passive is slide 60% faster, go 35% further. Apart from that, it's basically just a normal Nezha, but better. Better polarities, better looks, better stats. But abilities, they will all work pretty much the same. Firewalker, the first ability, will leave a trail of fire that allies can run through to cleanse themselves, it says. And when you use the second ability, Blazing Chakram, it's like a glaive, a throwing weapon. You throw it around, it can bounce around, you can charge it, or you can cast the ability when it's in mid-flight and teleport to it. But if you happen to have the first ability active at the time, it teleports and it creates a blast at the landing area with a ring of fire. It literally says in the description of this thing, teleporting blasts the landing area with a ring of fire. Third ability, Warding Halo, basically gives you a protective ring of fire. Upon first casting it, the damage that you get will build up in the bottom right. That translates to the damage that this will do to enemies, because any enemy you come close to will take damage from this. But it depends how much damage you take at the beginning. The more damage you take when casting Warding Halo, the higher that number, the more damage that you will deal out. I'm glad it's not a cast it and it costs energy to run. It basically will continue to run until that number has gone. And the fourth ability being Divine Spears, literally, it's great for crowd control defense missions, survivals, mobile defense, excavators, interceptions. It's a really, really useful ability because a ton of spikes come out of the ground, dealing damage to enemies. Kind of wish it was all enemies. Have noticed quite a few times, not being somebody who uses Nezha a lot, but has no plans of taking Nezha Prime off anytime soon, because had a lot of fun playing Nezha, because I haven't played Nezha probably, if I'm honest, apart from the odd time I've actually equipped him, properly haven't used him since he probably came out. But the Divine Spears will come out the ground, stopping allies and enemies in their tracks, not allies, enemies. Though it would be funny if you had radiation, because in theory this should stop allies in the track, but abilities don't work on other frames. Against other frames, not damaging ones anyway when you have radiation. Anyway, I don't know, I will have to look into that one actually now that I've said it. Casting Divine Spears, the fourth ability again, slams them same enemies into the ground, dealing more damage. So they get damage from being impaled and damage from being slammed into the ground. It's not a lot of damage, but if you look at this as more of a crowd control ability to be able to stop the enemies in their tracks, it works wonders. And Nezha himself, I will straight up admit, I completely forgot that the slide is faster and further than all other frames, which made him very weird when I equipped this prime and started using it again. But I've just left him on since, and he's really good at pretty much everything I've thrown at him apart from the steel path. Haven't gone, well, going there, it's still useful. Divine Spears, Warding Halo, the Firewalker, Blazing Chakram to get out of trouble really quickly. After not using Nezha for so long, I will straight up admit it was very fun using him again, to the point of, as I mentioned before, and as I cut that out, I'm not taking Nezha Prime off. Obviously better in the Void because you can get the energy from the Void Spheres, Trap Spheres, whatever these things are called, to be able to use the abilities more and more. But there's a lot of situations that I expected him to be horrible in, with the added armor and the increased sprint speed. Had none of these problems with Nezha Prime. Was so good to actually play this frame again and start playing with the augments that I've avoided using on normal Nezha, waiting for Nezha Prime to turn up. Even if the only one I will probably eventually put back on, because it's not on at the moment, is Safeguard, which is the Warding Halo one. It casts 50% of the effectiveness of your Warding Halo on any ally that you cast this ability on. It's not a run through thing, you have to cast it on them. I don't know why I said run through earlier. That was just straight up weird. But Nezha Prime, not that hard to actually get a hold of. Not that bad looking with the wheelies on there. Will definitely be keeping this frame equipped for at least until the next frame comes in. Mainly, well, apart from when I have other things to do, then I'll just go back to the same frames I'm using. But for normal running around, just doing random things, definitely can leave him equipped for at least a little while. Just because he was so much fun to use, and honestly the Fire Step with Divine Spears makes a great combination. Warding Halo, I mean, all in all of the abilities have always worked really well with Nezha. It makes sense as to why people were hyped for this frame, and he is actually a pretty decent frame. Did not expect to have as much fun as I did playing as Nezha Prime. Thought it would just be another equip, level up, former, question mark, and put away later. But for now, I think we'll leave this off here. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.